The universe had a strange way of dragging Ethan Ward into danger, even when he ran from it. He only wanted fuel. Nothing more. Nothing heroic. But fate had been waiting for him on Castrol 9, a half-broken space station, where lights flickered like dying stars and the smell of rust mixed with alien spices. It was the kind of place where people whispered instead of spoke, because someone was always listening. Ethan stepped off his ship, Star Runner, pulling his jacket tighter. He was used to chaos, but today the station felt different. Tense, like the air was holding its breath. He soon learned why. A crash echoed behind him. Metal crates fell as a panicked alien merchant stumbled out of a dark corridor. His skin was mottled blue, and his hands trembled as if he had brushed death itself. "You human," the merchant whispered as he grabbed Ethan's sleeve. "Please, they're coming. I need to pay my debt." Ethan sighed. "Look, I'm not a fighter for hire. Go find a guard." The merchant shook his head violently. "Guards work for them." "Then what do you want from me?" The alien pointed shakily at someone standing in the shadows. Ethan turned, and the universe shifted. A girl stepped into the dim light. Not human. Not like any alien he had seen. She was young, maybe 20, with long white hair that shimmered like frost under sunlight. Her skin glowed faintly gold, and her silver eyes burned with fear, so bright it felt alive. But what truly caught Ethan's attention were the broken metal cuffs around her wrists. "Slave cuffs." Ethan's voice hardened. "I don't buy people." "She is all I have," the merchant whispered. "They will kill me if I don't deliver payment." Before Ethan could walk away, the girl dropped to her knees with a soft thud. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "Please take me. I don't want to go back." Something in Ethan froze. Her words weren't desperate. They were final, like someone begging for their last chance at life. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl blinked as if searching her own mind. I think, Lara. You think. I remember nothing else," she whispered. Ethan stepped closer, and the station lights flickered overhead. Screens glitched. Vending bots rebooted. A strong electric pulse hummed through the floor. Lyra gasped and grabbed her head, her silver eyes glowing brighter. Almost painful to look at. "What was that?" Ethan whispered. Lyra shook her head. "It happens when I'm scared. I don't know why. I don't know what I am." Before Ethan could speak, the heavy metal doors at the end of the hall slammed open. A squad of black-armored soldiers marched in with rifles ready. Their leader pointed a metal glove toward Lyra. "There she is. Grab the asset and dispose of the rest." "Asset?" Ethan muttered. "She's a person. To you, maybe," the guard replied. "To us, she's a problem." The merchant bolted for the exit. He didn't get far. One shot, one scream, and he fell. Lyra trembled violently. Ethan could feel her panic like heat in the air. He stepped between her and the guards. "She's with me," he said. The soldiers laughed. "Human, you have no idea what you're protecting." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Maybe I don't, but you're not taking her." The guards raised their weapons. Then it happened. Lyra's fear exploded, not in a scream, not in a cry, but in a silent wave of pure force. Air rippled like a stone hitting water. Lights blew out across the hall. Metal flooring cracked. Screens shattered. Every soldier dropped to the ground, convulsing as their armor sparked. Ethan stumbled backward, covering his face from flying debris, and Lyra just stood there, shaking, tears falling silently. "I didn't mean to. I swear, I never want to hurt anyone," she whispered, horrified by her own power. Ethan's voice softened. "Lyra, were you?" She shook her head helplessly. "I don't know, but they want me dead." That was enough for him. Ethan gently took her hand. "You're coming with me. We'll figure this out together." But the station suddenly groaned, a deep metallic growl that vibrated through the floor. Red alarm lights flashed across the ceiling. A robotic voice boomed. "Warning, unknown warship entering attack range. All ships brace for contact." Ethan looked through the wide bay window. A massive shadow slid into view. Cold, silent, a leviathan of black metal with red engine vanes. This wasn't a patrol ship. This wasn't a pirate ship. This was a hunter-class destroyer. And it didn't aim at the station. It aimed directly at Ethan's ship. Lyra's voice trembled. "He found me." "Who?" Ethan asked. Lyra's lips quivered as she whispered a name she barely remembered. "The man who ended my world." The destroyer powered its weapons. And Ethan realized he wasn't just protecting a girl. He had stepped into a war that had already begun, even before she lost her memory. The alarms of Castrol. 9 screamed to the metal corridors as Ethan pulled Lyra deeper inside the station. The Hunter-class destroyer outside blocked half the stars, its shadow swallowing the entire docking ring. Everyone else ran for safety, but Lyra couldn't run fast. Something inside her was breaking, or waking. Her breathing became sharp, uneven. Her silver eyes flickered like faulty lights. "Lyra, stay with me," Ethan said, holding her arm. I'm trying," she whispered, "but the memories they're pushing through." They reached a narrow maintenance tunnel. It was dark, wires hanging from the ceiling, sparks falling like dying fireflies. Ethan stopped to let her catch her breath. "Tell me what you're remembering," he said gently. But Lyra shook her head. "They're not memories, they're fragments, like glass pieces cut in my mind." She pressed her hands against her skull. Voices screaming, lights falling, a man standing in fire, my own hands glowing, and then nothing. It all goes black again. Ethan had no idea what she was, but he knew one thing. She wasn't lying. Before he could ask more, a deep vibration shook the tunnel. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lyra tensed. "He's closer. I can feel him." "Who is he?" Ethan asked, but Lyra's eyes widened, not in fear, but in confusion. "I don't know. I only remember his shadow." Suddenly, a sharp metallic clang echoed behind them. Ethan spun. The lights flickered. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Cold. Not human. Ethan whispered, "Hunters." The moment he said it, Lyra's hands began to glow. Not silver, not white, but a deep, pulsing blue. "I'm not doing this," she said in panic. "It activates when I'm scared." "Then stop being scared," Ethan replied. She almost laughed. "I wish I could." The footsteps came closer. They burst out of the tunnel into the docking bay and froze. 6 hunters waited for them. Black gold armor, blue plasma rifles humming, emotionless visors staring like dead eyes. Their leader stepped forward. His voice was cold. "Return the girl. She is incomplete and must be retrieved." "Incomplete?" Ethan repeated. Lyra stiffened. "That word, I've heard it before." The leader continued. "She is broken. Her memory core is fractured, but she is still dangerous." Lyra whispered, shocked. "Memory core? I'm not a machine." The hunters raised their rifles. Ethan stepped in front of her. "She's not going with you." The leader tilted his head. "You are protecting what you don't understand." "Doesn't matter," Ethan replied. "She stays with me." The hunters fired. Blue plasma bolts flew toward them. But halfway through the air, they bent sharply and slammed into the walls instead. Lyra gasped. "I didn't do that." But her eyes said otherwise. Ethan whispered, "Your power is protecting you." The hunters fired again. This time, Lyra couldn't hold it in. Her broken memories flashed. Her mother screaming her name. A golden throne collapsing. A burning sky. A crown falling into dust. A cold hand grabbing her arm. "Running, running, running." Lyra cried out, and her power exploded. A shockwave blasted outward, cracking the floor like thin ice. Hunters flew backward, armor sparking. All except one. The leader didn't move an inch. He stood like a wall, unshaken and unhurt, while the shockwave tore the room apart. Lyra stared at him, horrified. No, that can't be. Only one person survived my power before." Ethan pulled her behind fallen crates. "Who survived?" Lyra trembled. "I don't remember his name. I only remember his voice saying, 'Run, little Heir. Your empire is dead.'" Ethan froze. "Heir?" Before he could ask more, the hunter leader stepped forward. "You cannot hide, Lyra Varian." Lyra's eyes widened at the name. "Varian, why does that sound familiar?" she whispered. Because the hunter said, "You ruled it." Her breath stopped. Ethan's blood ran cold. And the hunter raised his rifle. "Your broken memory ends today." The docking bay felt like a tomb as the hunter leader stepped closer, his armor glowing with red veins. Ethan pushed Lyra behind a fallen metal panel, but she was barely breathing. Her mind was spiraling. He called her Lyra Varian. He said she once ruled something. He survived her strongest blast like it was nothing. None of it made sense. Ethan whispered sharply, "Lyra, look at me. Do you remember him?" Her hands trembled as she pressed him to her head. "I remember a throne room, falling stars, screams, and a man watching me escape." Her voice cracked. He said, "Little Heir, your bloodline ends tonight." Ethan felt his chest tighten. If that was true, she wasn't just a lost girl. She was a survivor of a fallen empire. But the real shock was the hunter's reaction. He stepped through the broken metal, like walking through paper. "You ran once," he said coldly, "but you will not run again." His visor glowed red as he aimed his rifle. Ethan jumped forward and shoved Lyra aside just as a plasma bolt tore through the crate, sending sparks into the air. "Ethan!" she cried. "Move!" he ordered. They sprinted across the bay as more shots echoed behind them. Ethan rolled behind a cargo loader while Lyra slid behind a pillar, her breathing sharp and unsteady. The hunter leader never hurried. He walked slowly, like he already knew he would win. Lyra whispered, Why can't I remember him? Why can't I remember anything important?" Ethan answered quickly, "Because something broke your memory. Someone broke it." Lyra's eyes widened. "Like on purpose?" "Maybe." Their moment ended when the hunter leader placed a hand on the floor. The metal beneath them began to glow in a perfect circle. Ethan's eyes widened. "Lyra, move." They jumped aside, just as the floor exploded upward in a violent burst of red energy. Ethan fell hard, sliding across the deck. Lyra screamed as the shockwave tossed her backward. She hit the wall, gasping in pain. The hunter leader stepped through the smoke. "Do you understand now?" he said calmly. "You cannot run. Your memory was shattered to hide you, but I have found you again." Lyra crawled backward, shaking. "Why me? What do you want from me?" He pointed at her blazing eyes. "You hold power that should not exist, power that once belonged to an empire we erased." Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. "Then why didn't you kill me before?" "Because," he said, "he wanted to do it himself." Lyra froze. "Who?" The hunter leaned close. "The man who ended Varian." Her heartbeat stopped. Ethan whispered, "Lyra, do you know who he is?" Lyra shook her head, terrified. I don't know anything." The hunter said, "But he knows you, and he is coming." Suddenly, the destroyer above the station lit up, not with weapon fire, with a summoning signal, a long red pulse that shook the air. Lyra clutched her chest as the pulse hit her. Pain shot through her body. Memories attacked her again. She saw a burning throne, her father falling, a crown melting, her mother saying run, a dark figure reaching toward her, and then everything turning black. Lyra screamed as her power burst out again, but weaker, unstable, flickering like dying lightning. The hunter didn't even step back. "You are breaking," he said, just like before. Ethan had heard enough. He jumped out from behind the crate, grabbed a metal rod and swung it with full force. The rod hit the hunter leader's helmet and bent like soft clay. The hunter didn't even look at him. He grabbed Ethan by the throat and lifted him with one hand. Lyra gasped, "No!" "Stop!" Ethan struggled, choking. "Lyra, run!" She couldn't, because the hunter leader said something that froze her blood. "You are not running. He wants you alive. Until he arrives." Lyra whispered, terrified, Who is coming?" The hunter slowly turned his helmet toward her. The Emperor of Ash. Her entire body went cold. Her breathing stopped. Her eyes widened with absolute terror. "I know that name," she whispered, "but I don't want to remember why." The hunter leader dropped Ethan to the floor. Then he spoke a single sentence that changed everything. "Lyra, He is your uncle." The night was silent, but Jackson's heart was not. The small alien house felt colder than before. Lyra sat on the floor, her hands shaking, her breathing sharp and uneven. Jackson watched her carefully. He knew something was wrong, something very dark. He slowly knelt beside her. "Lyra, what did you see?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the corner of the room, a dark corner that suddenly felt alive. Then she whispered a sentence that froze Jackson's blood. "Someone erased my life on purpose." The room felt heavier. Jackson leaned back. He didn't understand everything, but he knew enough. Someone powerful didn't want Lyra to remember who she was. He asked softly, "Do you know who did it?" Lyra nodded slowly, then shook her head confused. Her voice trembled. It was not one person. It was a whole council, a secret group. They used something forbidden. Her hands touched her temples, as if the memory still hurt physically. Jackson whispered, "A mind-erasing weapon?" Lyra's eyes widened, as if the phrase activated another memory. Her voice dropped to a fearful whisper. It was called the Black Room, a place where memories die. The temperature in the room seemed to fall instantly. Even the lights flickered. Jackson felt a chill in his spine. He had heard stories in the galactic underground, rumors about a place where empires sent dangerous people, a place where a person came out empty or never came out at all. But those were only legends. Until now. "Lyra," he said quietly, "why would they take you there?" Lyra hugged herself tightly. "I was important, too important. I knew something that could destroy them." Her broken memories sparked again. Her eyes turned distant, like she was watching ghosts in her mind. Jackson leaned closer. "What did you know?" She whispered 2 words. "The crown." Jackson froze. He wasn't a historian, but even he knew this. The Lost Empire's crown was more than a symbol. It was a key, a weapon, and a command center all in one. Whoever controlled it could command ancient fleets hidden across the galaxy. Jackson swallowed. "Are you saying you know what the crown is?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. Her fingers shook. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears. "I think I hid it." Jackson stared at her, stunned. "You hid the greatest weapon of an extinct empire?" Lyra nodded slowly, fearfully. "I wasn't just anyone, Jackson. Before they erased me, I was something else, something dangerous to them." The ground vibrated suddenly, a low, distant rumble. Jackson stood up fast, looking toward the window. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra's eyes went wide with panic. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. They found me. Already?" Jackson grabbed her wrist. "Who are?" Before he finished the question, a massive shadow passed over the house. A ship, not a local ship. A hunter ship. Lyra trembled uncontrollably. "They're not here for money. They're not here to kill you. They're here to bring me back to the Black Room." Jackson's pulse spiked. "Over my dead body." Lyra grabbed his shirt. "No, Jackson, you don't understand. If they take me, they will erase me again. This time forever." The lights in the house died. Complete darkness. Only one thing could be heard. The silence before the storm was the worst. Lyra stood frozen. Jackson positioned himself between her and the door, fists tight, breath sharp. The house was dark, so dark that even the air felt heavy. Then, boom, the front door shook violently. Lyra flinched, covering her ears. Jackson whispered, "Stay behind me. Don't move." Another boom, louder this time. The entire wall trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling like falling snow. Jackson's heart pounded. Whoever was outside wasn't a thief. This was a military breach. Lyra whispered shakily, "They won't stop. They have my signal. They know my pulse, my brain waves, everything." Her fear wasn't ordinary. It was a fear of someone who had survived nightmares. The third boom cracked the hinges. A glowing metal device was now visible. A breaching ram, alien and advanced. Jackson whispered firmly, "Lyra, if they get inside, run. Don't think. Just run." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not leaving you." "You must." Before she could reply, crash! The door exploded inward. Wood, dust, sparks everywhere. 3 armored figures stepped inside. Tall metallic suits, glowing red visors. Their armor carried the symbol Lyra feared most, a black circle with a broken crown inside it. The symbol of the council. Lyra gasped, "That means the High Hunters are here." Jackson had heard rumors about them. They weren't soldiers. They were memory reapers. Specialists from the Black Room. The lead hunter spoke, his voice deep, mechanical, emotionless. Target acquired. Return the heir. Heir. The word echoed like thunder. Jackson whispered, "They just confirmed it. You really are the last royal." Lyra stepped backward, shaking. No, please." The hunters raised their shock lances. Energy crackled at the tips. The leader aimed at Lyra. "Come with us, and your pain will end." Jackson stepped in front of her, shouting, "She's not going anywhere." The hunter didn't argue. He simply fired. A blast of blue electricity shot toward them. Jackson pulled Lyra down just in time. The bolt missed their heads by inches, smashing a hole through the wall. Jackson grabbed Lyra's hand and ran. They jumped behind the kitchen counter. As another blast hit, the house shook violently. Lyra whispered with panic, "Jackson, they won't stop. Hunters don't care about killing people. They only want the target." Jackson looked into her terrified eyes. He spoke the truth he hadn't admitted until now. "Then they'll have to kill me first." A third blast hit. The room filled with smoke. Footsteps approached slowly. The leader's voice echoed, "Closer now, colder now. Surrender the girl." Jackson grabbed a metal rod from the floor, the closest thing to a weapon he had. Lyra shook her head desperately. "They will kill you. Please stop." Jackson whispered, "I can't. I won't let them take you." The hunters were now only a few meters away. The leader raised his hand. A black device unfolded, a memory extraction tool. Lyra's breathing broke. No, that machine. That's what erased me before." The device hummed. Shadows twisted around it. The air grew cold. Jackson clenched the rod tighter. The hunter aimed the device at Lyra. Memory wipe initiated. Everything went silent. Lyra broke. Screaming, crying, shaking. Jackson roared and charged. Time slowed. The hunter turned. Too late. Jackson swung the metal rod with full force. Smash! The device shattered. Sparks flew like dying stars. The leader stumbled backward. Jackson stood between him and Lyra, panting, shaking, fearless. Lyra stared at him, horrified and in awe. The leader raised his head slowly, his electronic voice glitching. Resistance recorded. Level 2 protocol activated. The other hunters stepped forward. Their armor plates opened, revealing something glowing inside. Something not human and not machine. Lyra whispered in terror, "Jackson, those are not soldiers anymore. Those are hybrids. Part beast, part machine. No mercy." Jackson tightened his grip. The hunters charged. The hybrids moved like shadows, fast and silent. Their glowing eyes scanned the room. Ethan and Lyra backed against the wall, cornered. Lyra's breathing was fast, shallow. I can't control it yet," she whispered, fear shaking her voice. Ethan clenched his fists. "Then I'll hold them off. You focus on yourself. Remember who you are." Her silver eyes flickered, then blazed bright. Sparks of blue energy danced across her fingertips. The hybrids froze for a second, sensing the power. Lyra gasped, "It's stronger. Something is waking inside me." Ethan nodded. "Good. Let it out." She focused. Her memories flashed rapidly, fragments of her empire, her family, and her own immense power. For the first time, she remembered the throne of light, the star fleets, and the hidden weapon that could destroy planets. The hybrids lunged. Lyra raised her hands instinctively. A wave of energy burst from her body. The hybrids were thrown back, crashing into walls and metal beams. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the station shook violently. Ethan shielded her from debris. "Keep going, Lyra. Don't stop." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter than ever. She screamed, a mix of fear, pain, and power. The energy around her formed a blue-white shield, spinning like a storm. The hybrids tried to attack again, but their weapons bent and melted in midair. Ethan realized she wasn't just fighting, she was awakening. Her memories were coming back in pieces. Her father's last words, "Protect the crown," her mother hiding her in the stars. "Run, Lyra, run." The betrayal that destroyed her empire. Lyra's lips trembled. "I remember everything now." She lifted her hands and pointed at the nearest hybrid. The air itself bent around her fingers. The hybrid screamed as its metal body melted like wax. Ethan's jaw dropped. "You're unstoppable." The leader watched, calm, unfazed. Impressive but incomplete. He raised his hand, and the hybrids regrouped, stronger than before. More energy poured from them, faster, smarter. Lyra turned to Ethan, fear and determination in her eyes. "I can't hold them all alone." Ethan gripped her hand. "Then let's end this together. You control the power. I'll be your anchor." Lyra nodded. For the first time, she felt a surge of confidence. The broken girl was gone. The heir of a lost empire was standing tall. She unleashed her full power. Blue-white energy expanded outward like a storm. The hybrids screamed as they were lifted into the air, thrown across the bay. Sparks, smoke, and metal twisted in every direction. The leader stepped forward, unharmed. His voice echoed over the chaos. "You are strong, but strength is useless without control." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "I have control, and I will not be afraid again." Energy surged. The leader was blasted backward, slamming into the wall. The station shook, alarms blaring louder than ever. Ethan watched, astonished. "Lyra, you're incredible." Lyra's eyes glowed like twin stars. Her memory was no longer broken. She knew who she was. She knew what she could do. She knew what she must fight for. The hybrids lay scattered. The leader struggled to rise. Lyra whispered, cold and powerful, "This ends now. I am Lyra Astrion, and no one takes me without paying the price." A shockwave of energy blasted through the room, the leader screaming as the door behind him bent and twisted. Ethan covered his ears, awestruck. "She's the last hope, the galaxy's last heir." Lyra stood tall. The broken memory, the fear, the lost past, all gone. And for the first time, she felt ready to reclaim her empire. The throne room loomed larger than ever, its ceilings lost in shadow, the walls lined with statues of rulers long past. Every corner seemed to whisper stories of ambition, betrayal, and power. The young heir stepped forward, each footfall echoing with the weight of destiny. His heart pounded, but this was no ordinary fear. It was the tension of a world holding its breath, waiting to see if he would rise or falter. The council of elders, seated high above on carved platforms, observed him with guarded eyes. Some whispered each other, questioning if this boy, no, this young man, could truly endure the final trial. Others looked with awe, as though sensing that he had already survived impossible odds and now carried the very essence of hope. The heir closed his eyes for a brief moment. Memories of battles and betrayals, of dark corridors and alien whispers, swirled in his mind. He remembered the alien nurse, her luminous eyes filled with concern and unspoken guidance. She had walked beside him through every challenge, showing him that courage was not the absence of fear, but the strength to move forward despite it. A sudden hush fell over the room as he opened his eyes. There was a clarity there now, a quiet confidence that had been forged in fire and shadow. He raised his hand, feeling the air hum around him, as if the very kingdom recognized its destined leader. "I am ready," he said, his voice steady, carrying through the vaulted hall. The elders exchanged glances, and even the most skeptical bowed their heads in reluctant acknowledgement. The alien nurse stepped closer, her hand brushing his shoulder lightly. "You were always meant for this," she whispered, her voice both comforting and commanding. The air thickened, and a brilliant golden light began to pour from the throne itself. The symbols etched into the walls pulsed with energy, illuminating the faces of everyone present. He could feel it, power unlike anything he had known, not just within the throne, but flowing through him, through his veins. Every trial, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt had led him here. As he approached the throne, visions of the past flashed before him. He saw the faces of those he had lost, the battles he had barely survived, the quiet moments of fear and hope intertwined. Each memory reminded him why he could not fail. He was not just fighting for himself anymore. He was the heir, the symbol of survival and hope for a kingdom teetering on the edge of chaos. He reached out and placed his hands upon the throne. Immediately, the light intensified, enveloping him in warmth and energy. A surge of clarity and purpose filled his mind. He understood now. Power was not merely taken. It was earned through courage, compassion, and unwavering determination. The room erupted in a quiet but profound awe. Even the statues seemed to lean forward, as if acknowledging the rightful ruler. The elders' murmurs turned into nods of approval, and the subjects waiting in the hall beyond the doors could feel the change, the rise of a leader who had endured, who had fought, who had conquered not only external enemies but his own fears. He turned to the alien nurse, whose presence had been a constant yet mysterious guide throughout his journey. She smiled, radiant and otherworldly, and for a moment, words were unnecessary. Their eyes met, and he felt the depth of her faith in him, a faith that had never wavered even when his own did. "You've done it," she said softly. "The world has waited for someone like you." "No," he replied, a small smile breaking across his tired face. "We did it. Together." The energy from the throne subsided slowly, leaving a calm but undeniable sense of order in its wake. The young heir stood tall, his presence commanding yet humble. He was no longer merely a survivor, or a boy thrust into circumstances too vast for him to comprehend. He was the heir, the leader, and the hope of an entire realm. Voices rose in reverent applause from those gathered. The council of elders approached him, laying hands upon his shoulders, each touch a silent acknowledgment of his rise. The kingdom, once fractured and uncertain, seemed to breathe collectively, as if a new dawn had broken within its very soul. He looked out over the hall, over the people who had witnessed his ascent, and for the first time, he felt truly alive. He had faced death, doubt, and despair, and emerged not just intact, but stronger. The heir's rise was complete, but the journey had changed him in ways he could never have imagined. He would lead not with fear or arrogance, but with courage, empathy, and the wisdom of all he had endured. As the alien nurse stepped back, allowing the moment he had earned, he lifted his gaze toward the open sky visible through the towering windows. Light streamed down, bathing the throne room in a brilliance that promised hope, renewal, and a future forged through trials and triumphs. The heir had risen. The kingdom would endure. And for the first time in generations, the realm had a leader who had truly earned his place.